Well, hey everyone, my name is Kevin DeWalt, founder of So Helpful, and I'm joined today by a friend and colleague, Bruce McCarthy. Bruce is the founder and chief product officer at Up Labs. He's also the creator of the Rex product, for which I am a happy customer. And his work all is around helping product people become more effective at their jobs. So today I'm going to ask Bruce a little bit of questions about how he uses being helpful as a part of his strategy for getting insight into what his customers want, and how it helps him grow his business. So, Bruce, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, hey, thanks for asking, Kevin.
So, Bruce, just to sort of kick things off, can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what it means to be somebody who helps product people, and what's your work like, and the kind of people you help out?
Sure. Well, I've been a product guy, and I've been in software development of one form or another for the past 20 years, and I've gotten through various roles at small companies, startups, big corporations like Oracle and Dun& Bradstreet. I've developed an expertise that lets me help out and be happy to help out product people and product teams. So by that I mean product managers, but also anybody who has the job of figuring out what is it we're trying to build, and in what order should we do that, and how do we make that happen? How do we organize for success? So everything that I'm doing now is about helping those people and product teams do a better job of getting the right stuff out to market. I do that in the form of market management consulting, helping teams figure out how to organize, and I also do that in the form of the Rex product that helps people set priorities and develop a product roadmap.
That's excellent, Bruce. So you're doing a combination of building your own products that help customers solve challenges they have around product management, as well as providing services, helpful content. I know your blog is very widely read. Productpowers.com is very widely read among the product management community, and when you tweet something out, it seems to get a lot of traction. So you're obviously well known in the community. So those are the primary focuses, I guess, of the content, the products and the services work. That's the primary focus of your time right now?
That's right, those three things. The services are things like seminars, webinars, workshops, and just general management consulting with teams, trying to help them figure out what they need to do. The content is mostly on my blog, but I do a bunch of events and a bunch of speaking as well. I'm going to be doing a seminar with user interface engineering later this month. I'm an organizer at Product Camp. I do the Boston Product Management Association. I'm the vice president there. So there's a lot of activity that goes into that. And as you mentioned, I write regularly on my blog at Product Powers about topics of interest to product people, like road mapping and so on.
Well, great, Bruce. That's fantastic. So, can you just talk a little bit about maybe your strategy generally for how helping people is a part of your strategy for growing your business?
I got to be honest, it's really become a centerpiece of my whole go-to-market strategy. Being helpful turns out to be a great way to get an honest conversation going with customers or potential customers, and an honest conversation and a productive conversation. So that when I'm talking to somebody who might be a customer, instead of me giving them a hard sales pitch, I'm just asking them to tell me about their business and what they're trying to accomplish and where they're running into challenges. I'm doing customer development as though I were a product manager. And in some cases, I sort of am the product manager for Rex. But in other cases, with management consulting, I'm just trying to find out where could they use my help. I start off by just freely giving over So Helpful my advice, listening carefully, telling them, well, this is the kind of thing I've run into before that's like that, and maybe you could try this or this, and listening to what they say about that. Usually after that half-hour conversation, they have a much better sense of where they want to take things. They have a much better redirected sense of what their priorities should be, because they've had the chance to talk to somebody who's been through it before. And I can't tell you how many times that has turned into multiple conversations over time, and that has turned into either somebody who's in my beta program for Rex or somebody who's become a consulting client. It's happened over and over again. I would say once out of every 5 or 10 so helpful calls actually turns into paying business.
Well, that's really interesting, Bruce. So I think a lot of people would look at where you are with your career and the sort of the amazing clients that you have, and think, well, someone like this doesn't need to be helpful anymore. They've already got their reputation built, and I mean, I guess you go beyond you go beyond the Call of Duty to the point of you'll even give people who are interested in getting into a product management career, you'll give them career counseling and
Oh,
help them
absolutely.
figure out. So I guess the world seems to be running in a as many people in the world are kind of running in a different direction where it's all about data and metrics and analysis and A/B testing. But you're firmly making a strong effort as a product guy to make that human connection, that human touch. What's the value of doing all this?
Well, it came instinctively for me out of my product management work. Over many years, I have found the qualitative interview, the half-hour to 1 hour phone interview or in-person interview, to be much more productive for me in figuring out where my product needs to go than I have quantitative measures like surveys and so on. It's so easy to misinterpret survey data because it can turn on the choice of one word or another in the questions you ask, or the one question you forget to put into the survey, or the question you had to put in because you asked it last year. And those things make it so hard to really understand where your research subjects are coming from that I've found that the in-person interview is much richer. And after 10, 12, or at most 16 interviews, I kind of know where I want to take my product as long as I know who my market is. Well, I've really turned that into my marketing methodology as well. I put out some content on my blog, or I do a talk, or I appear at a seminar, and people come up to me afterwards, or people start linking to me on LinkedIn, and I think they kind of want to rub some of my expertise off on them or their particular problem. And instead of giving them the brush off, I take 5 minutes or a half an hour on So Helpful to listen to them and find out what challenges they're having. And that usually turns into a conversation where either I get to learn more about my customer base and what kind of challenges they're having, which is terrific for designing my product, or I get to learn more about another way that organizations and product teams can go wrong, which I can, or go right, which I can use in my consulting business, or maybe 1 out of 5 or 10 times it turns into a good lead for either a Rex customer or a consulting customer. And I'll give you an example. Probably my largest customer right now is a software company in the Boston area that's been around for 10 years, but in the last 2 years they have grown enormously. And they tried to take the same organizational structure and the same product management methods that they were using when they were 20 people and scale it up to 120 people. And that has not worked very well for them in the last 2 years. So the SVP of R&D at this company was poking around on the web looking for advice on roadmaps because they were having trouble figuring out their roadmap. Stumbled across my blog, read what I had written about it, thought it seemed to make sense to them, seemed to resonate with a couple of issues that they were having, and didn't just assume that I was some lofty person that writes books or something that you could never talk to, but saw right on my blog that they could actually set up a call with me. And so she called me. We ended up having a terrific conversation for half an hour. She said, gee, this has been great. Could I set up another time with you maybe next week? So we did that second call. And at the end of it, she said, you've had such insight about my problems. You've helped me realize that it's much more than just the roadmap. Could you come in and talk with me and my CEO? And it turned out they were just 20 minutes from my home office, and that turned into a really profitable long-term relationship where I'm helping them figure out not only their product strategy but their organizational strategy to succeed.
Well, Bruce, that's amazing, Bruce, and what a fantastic story. I know you're an inspiration to all of us, and you've given you've given so many great examples here on this call that I think all of us can learn from. I guess maybe to wrap things up, I know you work with a lot of early stage entrepreneurs like I do, maybe people who are either just starting out in their career or they just have maybe a new product idea. Can you kind of give them some advice, like about how should they think about incorporating being helpful and connecting with customers and clients? One or two pieces of advice would you give them to try to maybe give them the kickstart they need to get their business going?
Well, I would say number one that putting your shingle out there with So Helpful is really helpful to making the kind of connections that you need to make and to continue to talk to people. It's really hard to be an entrepreneur in isolation, in your office by yourself. And talking to more and more people, comparing their thinking to your thinking, whether they're potential customers or outside advisors, is really useful. And So Helpful has been a real boost to volume there for me. It's getting the right people on a Skype call or Hangouts or phone to have a conversation with me. One tip I would give is to use LinkedIn. I use it extensively, just completely the free version of LinkedIn. Every blog post I write, I post it in several groups that relate to my market, which is product managers and other product people, other people around product development. So I post links in those discussions. Discussions happen there, and people start spontaneously linking to me on LinkedIn. They just start linking to me, and I realize, oh, that person belongs to the same group that I do, or they say, hey, I read your article and I thought it would be nice to connect, or I read something on your blog, or I saw your slides on SlideShare, or whatever reason. And then what I do is I write back to them and I say, hey, thanks for linking on LinkedIn. I love to learn about other product people and what they're doing and what challenges they have. Why don't you set up some time with me and we can get to know each other? And I get like half of those people, or maybe 40% of those people, to set up a So Helpful with just those two sentences
Wow.
after they have linked to me, because they must have linked to me for a reason. And I think with LinkedIn, people don't quite know why they're linking to you exactly in that scenario. They don't know exactly what they want out of it, but they usually turn out to be really profitable conversations, either from a learning point of view or a turning it into leads point of view. So those two sentences, because it's so simple, and because I'm essentially offering to give them free advice, seem to really work a lot of the time to get people to come back to me. So that's at least a simple workflow tip.
That is fantastic, Bruce. So I'm learning a ton here, and I'm going to be writing these notes down so I can help share those with other people. Because we have a hangout coming up on using LinkedIn was So Helpful in a few weeks, and since most of my customers are entrepreneurs, which are mostly on Twitter, I'm actually not very good at LinkedIn. So let me just make sure I understand. So it's basically you've joined a number of groups where potential customers, in your case product people, are hanging out. You write helpful content to them. So reading the discussions, knowing what people need, you write helpful content, you post that in those groups, and then after people connect with you, that's when you make the ask. It says, hey, if you'd like to, if I can help you anymore, please feel free to grab some time with me. Is that basically it?
That's really it. I stumbled across that because people started linking to me, and some of them looked like good prospects to me. So I thought, well, what am I going to say? And that's what I decided to say. And that started to work so much better than either me reaching out and contacting people that I thought looked good from discussion threads, or just posting in the discussion thread publicly, hey, if anybody wants to talk about this stuff, here's my So Helpful link. None of that was really working. But if I waited for people to link to me, and over time, if you post enough stuff, that seems to happen spontaneously, stuff of interest to your target market, that is, then once they've reached out to me, they've self-selected. They've raised their own hand. So conversion to a conversation is pretty easy at that point.
Well, Bruce, that is fantastic advice. And in the interest of time, I'm going to wrap things up. But let me just first ask for the benefit of all the people watching this. When we write up the notes on our blog, we'll have all your contact information. But in case anybody's watching this on YouTube, where can they learn more about the wonderful stuff you teach? Maybe have a call for you to get some advice. How should they contact you?
Well, you can go to my blog, which is productpowers.com. and you can search for my presentations on SlideShare under my name, Bruce McCarthy. Or if you are interested in my road mapping and prioritization tool, Rex, you can go to reqs.com, and that's REQQS.com. And I'm also obviously on LinkedIn under my name, and the company name is Up Labs.
Thanks a lot, Bruce. This was super, super helpful. This has been Kevin Walt, just an interview with Bruce McCarthy, who is a friend and a trusted colleague, gave me some great advice. I am a happy user of Bruce's product Rex, and I think if you're interested in being a product person or that it's your career, I think you'll find his advice and his life generally just to be incredibly helpful. Bruce, thanks a lot for making the time with us today.
Thank you, Kevin. Always a pleasure.
All right, take care. Have yourself going. Bye-bye.